trying to get people to come in, comment. Today is Ministry Monday. And I just wanted, like an old-fashioned kind of church or kind of a newer, bigger church? What has your experience been with attending a church? I know that sometimes, a lot of the times, I will find, and maybe it's just me knowing the Bible, me kind of knowing how church groups interact with each other. But every church that I've gone to is misapplying scripture to either belittle either new people or people that are doing things that the leadership doesn't agree with. You know, I've mentioned certain scriptures before that people in positions of church authority have to reconcile with what they're saying to the congregation. You know, they say that smoking cigarettes is bad, smoking weed is bad, drinking alcohol is bad. Well, good morning, hello. You know, I tend to find faults in these churches, in their leadership, because of the things that they say to new people, outsiders, however you want to put it. Like the biggest one that I've come across is because I smoke cigarettes and I do smoke weed, not all day. I smoke when I get home. But they say, well, you can't be in a position of authority because you smoke. Well, Jesus taught that it's not what goes in a man's mouth that defiles him, it's what comes out of his mouth, out of his heart. The way he treats people that defiles a man. Can't quite see the name. Shauna Slattery. Yo! Glad to have you in this morning. We're talking about church things, ministry things. The fact that I tend to find fault in a lot of congregations and the way they treat outsiders, people that aren't regular members. You know, sometimes we have to move from one city to a small town, and when we switch churches, find that the same kind of activities apply. Church leadership will condemn or not take part in with other believers who are quote unquote sinning by smoking cigarettes or smoking weed, drinking alcohol. I personally don't drink alcohol. I haven't drank alcohol in 10 years, but I do smoke cigarettes and I do smoke weed. So when a church leadership tells me that, oh, you can't, because at one point, my wife and I were attending a local ministry in Bangor, and I was doing short little 5, maybe 10-minute messages at the morning service of this church, and just by happenstance, the leader of the church found out that they knew I smoked cigarettes, which wasn't a big deal, but then they found out that I was smoking weed, and the church at the time, I didn't know the verse that Jesus, or what Jesus taught, because I wasn't fully in the Bible today trying to find, you know, a rebuttal when somebody says something like that. Good morning, Hyper Gaming 1902. Good morning. Let's see. It's time to take your final bow. No, we're just getting started this morning, man. It's a 45-minute commute, and I'm only 5 minutes in, 6 minutes in. So that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is why I don't attend a regular church service. I might watch, you know, a prayer meeting or something online to do the best I can to interact with other Christians. But then there's the opposite side of that coin is to be qualified for church leadership. There's an order to things. You're supposed to have your house in order and be a man of one wife, and there's a couple other things there. But again, that church that I got pulled from the podium for my short messages in the morning, the pastor's not married. According to scripture, he's unqualified. His house isn't in order. Even if he is married, he doesn't live with his wife. He should be disqualified from leadership in the congregation. Who have the votes needs to put somebody else new in that position of authority that is qualified. But that's just my opinion. That's, other people might say other things. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that. So if nobody's aware, I do have a little bit of a schedule with my streams, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Each day is a different theme in a way. Like Monday, today is Ministry Monday. Wednesdays are whatever Wednesdays. And Fridays are Farm Fridays. I really enjoy whatever Wednesdays because that's when we get to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So if that interests you, hit the subscribe button, click the little notification bell. If you're enjoying the show so far this morning, double tap the screen, give me a like. So, back to scripture here. In my channel description, there's a couple of references to the book of Acts, chapter 2 and chapter 4. It's not a command, it's just a recommendation on how to live, living communally. If those verses describe how the early Christians lived after the physical death of Jesus Christ. These people lived communally. They claimed nothing as their own. They had clothes, they had shelter, they had food, but it wasn't theirs. It was the community that provided. From those who need, from those who have to those who need. Everybody's needs were covered. Food, water, shelter, warmth. It was all taken care of by the community. There's a lot of places in the Bible, especially in Proverbs, that teach us how to live correctly. There's all kinds of proverbial sayings that we can apply to daily life. I'm currently driving, so I can't really look them up. I should have some sticky notes here so that I can reference them. So, if I was to actually establish some kind of church, it's going to be based on the only descriptions I can find of how the church lived communally. This idea of, only meeting on, 1 or 2 days a week for an hour or two doesn't make sense to me. That's not living communally. That's just a place to hang out. Just because we go to church doesn't make us Christians. Going to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ and bring the things that we struggle with to him because he can deal with it. We, in all of our ways, we might have the willpower to do something, but some things we just can't control. We have to give it up to God. Let him deal with it. It was live for the happy family together. We live for the happy family together forever. Well, after the rapture, Christians are going to be, or through the rapture, Christians are going to be taken up and live forever together with Jesus on the throne. Yes. But while we're here on this earth, we have to try to do the same thing. Live, not collectively, but live together peacefully. But together is kind of the key word there. we all live on our own little plantations, and then on Sunday morning we go to church, and on Wednesday evening we go to prayer meeting. We should be putting as much time into being together with the congregation as we do going to do our daily thing. That should be our life, is living with each other, working with each other. Yeah, we should still go out into the world and preach the gospel, but there's all kinds of different ways to preach the gospel. Me doing my live shows here, that's one way. Another way is, the way I live my life. People, if I'm living my life according to the Bible, people should be questioning, sir, you seem different. What is different about you? I'm a Christian, and I apply biblical principles to my life so that people will ask those questions. It's just a matter of perspective. When you read the Bible and try to apply it to real life situations, we should always, when we're interacting with people, we should always try to be peaceable about our interactions with people. Because that's what Jesus did. He was always peaceful, and, they know not what they do is kind of the ultimate statement there. No matter what was happening to him, having to pick up his cross and walk it to the mount, the hill, I guess, is another translation. While they were beating him and scourging him, he was peaceful the whole time, because he knew that he had to go through those things to be the sacrifice that we need. Otherwise, we're headed to hell. And the invitation's always there. If somebody who isn't a Christian and knows about the story we Christians provide, Jesus being the ultimate sacrifice, and they don't accept it, they're still headed to hell. That's the thing. We're all headed to hell through our sin nature. And Jesus comes along and offers us a different ride. Instead of going on the highway to hell, he gives us a stairway to heaven, to make music references. But what a blessed Monday morning. The sun's shining, a little overcast. We got plants that are finally, seeds that are popping up. I know it's Ministry Monday and not Farm Friday, but I do have to mention that over the long weekend. Boy, I guess I should have got my hair cut this weekend. It's a mess. So I'm interested to know if, because I don't think anybody's actually answered my on-screen question there, do you attend a local church? If so, what kind of church is it? If not, how do you mingle with Christians? Do you watch online services? Do you watch online Bible studies? Local prayer meetings? There's all kinds of, like one ministry that I do watch for my prayer meetings is Commission Outreach Church. They go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the same schedule I do, just a little bit before. It's like a half hour before I go live. Are there any, does anybody do service work? Volunteering at soup kitchens, church functions? If so, what is involved with those events? Is it like your church group goes into a soup kitchen and your group serves the people that are coming in for the food? Or is it just whoever volunteers? Maybe your local church has a warming center part of the year. You know, my wife and I did that for a whole winter. We did check-in every night for hours, and then we did overnights, which were, you know, doing a service for the people who don't have anywhere to live. And we met a lot of people. We told a lot of people about the idea that we're trying to do here. And maybe that put some kind of spark of hope in their heart and in their mind that someday this is going to be a reality, that people aren't going to have to suffer on the streets. My theory is that people are, that's like the lowest common denominator. What happens is people, you know, a variety of things happen. They lose their job, they lose their kids, they lose their apartment, and they're forced onto the street. And when you don't have anything to do, you have no job, no place, there's all kinds of time to get in trouble. And when you don't have anything to do, you have idle hands, you know, the first thing people are going to go to escape reality is drugs and alcohol. They don't want to experience that reality. They want to experience their own reality, or not actual reality, but. So I want to be able to, you know, there's times when we were working the Warming Center that some of these people were starting to come down from their high or their buzz, and we were able to actually talk to them about this. The next step would be going back into these ministries and saying, hey, I have room for, I don't know, 4 or 5 people who are willing to do certain things. You know, growing a garden, growing out ornamental plants, fruit trees. You know, each person's going to have approximately an acre to work on, and there's certain things that I need grown, certain things I need done, while I'm still having to drive into town every day to go to work, until the farm is producing enough where I don't have to work anymore. Once we get to that point where I don't have to work anymore, then I can focus full time on the farm ministry, you know, this intentional community. I don't like seeing people in the same situation that I was in for approximately 10 years. My entire 20s, I was homeless. Even into my 30s a little bit. Spent a lot of time on the streets here, down in Bangor, down in Portland for a while. Me and a buddy spent 10 days in Boston, homeless, and it was awful. Portland's probably the best place for homeless people, but there's way more crime, way more drugs. I want to be able to go and at least give people the alternative to the lifestyle that they're living now. Kind of the idea, if, you know, ask them, the first question I like to ask people, if you could go back to when you weren't in this situation, would you have accepted this alternative? And now that it's however many years later, would you accept the alternative? No drugs, no alcohol. The first 90 days, you've got to be stone cold sober. I'm a little lenient on marijuana because I don't believe it's a gateway drug. You know, I've been smoking pot for 25 years, and it's never led me to go into stronger things, stronger drugs, stronger. I just gave up alcohol in 2016, July 3rd, 2016. Yep. So this year will be 10 years without any kind of alcohol. I just know that it's no good for me, or I'm no good for it, either way. And the thing is, with my intentional community idea, is that I've spoken to a lot of ministries about this. And one of the first questions they like to ask me is, what's your timeline? How long do you think it's going to take, or how do they word that? How long do you think it's going to take you? How did he word that? Basically, what's your timeline? And usually I tell, church leadership or the people that I'm talking to that I want it done now. Like, they're like, oh, wow, this kind of thing takes years and years, and you got to get applications and approval. And no, the thing is, they're thinking from a nonprofit mindset, because a nonprofit 501c3 has to account for all the money coming in and any monies that go out to other ministries or other programs, or in my case a private business. They can't do that because then they have to pay the taxes on the money they give me. So I'm not looking for churches to help me anymore. I'm looking for individuals to help me get this started. Just enough to get, the big thing is a greenhouse. A greenhouse would extend my season on either end and allow me to grow a lot more stuff, especially in the fall season. I'd be able to grow a lot more lettuce, cool weather crops. I'm glad at least one person's watching. I appreciate you. I really do. Normally by this time in the ride, I've got nobody. The amount of gas I got left in the tank, I don't think I can stop for scrap metal this morning. I do have my gloves, but gas prices are what's getting me right now. If the gas prices would go back down to normal prices, because this time of year the tourists are going to start coming. Mother's Day was just yesterday. Usually by Mother's Day, a lot of the stuff down in Bar Harbor on Mount Desert Island's opening up for the season, and with gas at the prices that it's at, it's going to hurt Maine. A lot of other states have other industries that they can rely on, but Maine's primary source of income during the summer is tourism. People coming in, spending money. We had this same thing, what was it, 7 or 8 years ago, about COVID, basically. The issue was that because of COVID and everybody had to be 6 feet away from each other, I think a lot of the stuff down on Mount Desert Island, Bar Harbor, and all the tourist stuff, that they weren't even open. But back to ministry stuff. So I met a guy talking about that church from earlier where my wife and I volunteered at the warming center. I met a guy there who, can't even remember his name now. Mulligan? It's his last name, I think. But he built up a bunch of storage units, and now he doesn't even have to work with all the money he's making from the storage units. I'd love to be able to have a spot out on the big road up on Route 2 somewhere, put all of these other storage units to shame. There's storage units down in Newport where all it is a bunch of shipping containers up on blocks. That'd be the way to go. I'd really only have to start with probably 10 of them. $100 a month. It's $1,000 a month paying for the land itself. And be able to have a little church on, oh, that's a refrigerator. Boys. And a dishwasher. I just don't have it. I don't have the gas to be doing all that. I want to say good morning to everyone. I hope you're having a blessed morning. A lot of us have to deal with traffic, deal with people that don't know how to drive. But yeah, we're talking about ministry stuff, faith. Have you guys ever had to deal with a church where something didn't seem quite right, or, I've watched a lot of documentaries on hostile takeovers of church where a ministry from another church comes in and starts to seed themselves into church leadership, and they, over time, become the church leadership and force a change of, I hate to say it, but church politics. I've never seen it in person, but it seems to be, from what I understand, a mostly Southern Baptist thing. I don't understand why they would want to do it except to take over the funds and then dismantle the rest of the church and shutter the doors. But a church is supposed to be democratically run by the church membership. That's one of the big perks of being a member of a church, is you have a vote in what happens in events, finances, change of leadership. I never like when a pastor brings in somebody into a position of authority without a vote of confidence from the congregation, the members. There, the tree opened up. A lot of plants are opening up now. That's great. I love seeing the green leaves on trees, green grass growing. Some people have already mowed their lawn at least once, maybe twice, up here anyways. If nobody heard my announcement from earlier, I do this 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Mondays are ministry Mondays, Wednesdays are whatever Wednesdays, and Fridays are farm Fridays. Wednesdays, again, is whatever Wednesdays, where we talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So if that interests you, hit the subscribe button, double tap the screen to give me a like, hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I go live. So besides the gas prices, I'd be doing all right now. I'd be putting some money away for this winter. Propane doesn't really change price much. And that's what we use to heat our house, tiny house. So I didn't look it up, but I know there's a verse, might be in Psalms, might be in Genesis, where it talks about trees planted by the water, something like that. Things always grow better when there's a moving source of water, or water, period. Entertainment center. Boy. Well, now nobody's watching. Just about the right time. I am going to have to stop at the Salmon Club because I don't think I can make it to Circle K to use the bathroom. Still got that metal tinging sound in here somewhere. Sounds like it's under the seat. So I'm sure that some of the things that I brought up might have made people not want to listen to the show. But that's okay. I'm not here to appease people and tickle their ears with the good things that we all want to hear. I try to focus on the things that make us squirm and make us question what church leaders are saying, because we need to question them. They're just as fallible as we are. And yeah, sure, sometimes they make mistakes, but when this, I hate to harp on this single pastor, but some of the things that I brought to his attention that could be done years later now are being done. This local ministry is putting some kind of, housing ministry down in their basement, even though that's what my wife and I tried to tell him needs to be done now. But again, it's a 501c3. It's a nonprofit. It's not a church. Can't remember where it is in the U.S. Constitution, but the Congress shall make no law in regards to the church. The church has no responsibility to the government. If I establish, a church on a property, which my definition of church is different than everybody else's definition of a church. A church is the congregation, not the building that it meets in. So if I establish a congregation on a piece of property, that piece of property should automatically be tax-free. Government can't tell us we need a permit to build something. If we're going to build something as a community, we're going to build it right, regardless of what the permit laws of the secular world are. But the congregation, the people, are the church, not the building. People say, I'm going to church on Sunday. Well, what do you mean? In the Bible it says, where two or more are gathered, there I am among them. That's church. Whether that's one other person who's watching as a Christian, hey, we're at church. So, welcome to church this morning. I've warned people about certain churches that do certain things. Churches, let's say leadership says certain things and the congregation just does it because that's what the church, the congregation leader says. Hey, we gotta raise this much money to do a certain project. No, we don't. Unless it pertains to the congregation, no, we don't. So if a church member comes to me and says, or a congregation member comes to me and says, hey, I need some help with rent, or I want to go get my truck driving license, I want to, make money and provide for my family, well, then let's look at it and see what the pros and cons are. Maybe we can find a different way for this person to make money and provide for their family. Yeah, I'm not making it to Circle K. I gotta stop at the Salmon Club. Short intermission, even though we're gonna stay live. Oh, I said in previous streams that 2 springs ago I had kidney stones, and now I can't really go that far without having to use the bathroom. I shall return in just a moment. I'm here, I'm back. Nobody's here. All right. Yeah, it's a big river. All right, fuel light came on when I pulled in here. So I'm still gonna have to stop at Circle K, and that'll be where I end the stream, but because I gotta close the live stream to get to my Cash App to put money from my savings to my cash balance. So we just got a few more minutes. If anybody wants to share a Bible verse, that'd be cool. That's real easy for everybody to partake in. Anybody got a Bible verse they like? They want to share? Something they've been reading lately? I like 2 Corinthians 5:17 where it talks about being a new creature in Christ. I'm definitely a different person than before I got saved. Bible verses are always good. Gives everybody a chance to do some reading. I'm trying to think of the one I had stuck in my head for a while. It's like Psalm. Yeah, no, can't remember. I'll have to look it up again later. Does anybody attend a local church? If so, what's the name of it? Don't need to get into the church politics or any of the stuff I've been talking about, but just if you attend a local church, what's the name of it? Or is it Baptist, Methodist, Catholic, Protestant? There's a bunch of different ones out there. Non-denominational. It's not really something they put on their signs, but that's something that they claim is what they are. Like the church with the warming center that I was talking about earlier, they call themselves a non-denominational, even though their parent church is a Baptist church. So you always got to look at stuff like that when you're attending a congregation. I don't know another word for church. The building. When you attend a church building on Sunday or whatever day you go to the church building, Jehovah's Witnesses, no, is it Seventh-day Adventists do it on Saturday? If you do attend a local church building, what kind of outreach ministry do they have? Do they have like a Monday night meal that everybody's welcome to, or Friday afternoon, whatever? I don't know. I know that there's a couple of local ministries that do Monday through Friday. There are some ministries that do like a Monday evening meal. There's some that do like a Thursday late afternoon meal. I think there's a church in Bangor that does a Sunday morning breakfast just before church. I think churches would get more people to come into the building if they had more open events, not just a meal, but maybe in the morning, especially coffee and toast. Get people to come in, talk to them, figure out what's going on in their life. Because I'm sure it doesn't say it in the Bible, but a lot of people say that the church building should look more like a hospital than a theater hall. We should be taking care of the needs of people instead of giving them a show. A lot of modern, big churches do that. All they do is put on a show. But after the show's over and you give your tithes, you go home and get ready for work on Monday. To me, that's a joke. That's the itchy ear thing that I was talking, tickling ears. Steven? Oh, buddy, Steven. Yeah. Is my low fuel light still on? No, it's just the way I was parked. So I'll do it after work so we can continue the stream all the way to work. So something I do every day that I stream, I ask people to guess how many cars are going to be in the parking lot at work this morning, because I work at an automotive shop. How many cars are going to be in the parking lot this morning? Full parking lot? Am I going to have to take the shuttle into work? Yeah, when gas is this high, $4.55 a gallon, it's when I wish I had my old Civics. I'd take a lower amount of wood chips in order to save a little bit of gas. Still nothing. Well, I hope everybody's having a good morning. If anybody's retired or going to work or going to school, I know every once in a while I'll bring it up to, if you're retired, go out for coffee with somebody, talk to them. You don't really even need to preach to them, just talk to them. Same thing with going to work, same thing with going to school. Just have a conversation with somebody, a real conversation, like, what's going on in your life? What are you struggling with? Let's have a little conversation. It's always nice to do it over some kind of snack or treat or anything like that. I'm guessing with the way things have been going the last week or two, there's going to be quite a few vehicles in the parking lot. So my light's back on. Low fuel, of course. Well, when gas is $4.55 a gallon, I gotta kind of sit on E, don't I? Where's the person? Come on, guys. I think if you think about it a certain way, right? The first ministry that God gave us was the Garden of Eden. Now, if we can get back to that kind of a ministry where that's how we get people to come in to see how we do things, then that's the direction I'm gonna go. You just sat at a green arrow, dude. Wow. Made all those people wait. Excuse me. Oh, goodness. Never turned my headlights on. I normally do, just out of habit, but see if I can make the light. Nope. We're almost there. We're gonna find out how many cars are in the parking lot. Not bad. Looks like a couple we've already worked on. Eastern Fire and Subaru, the Toyota we worked on. Already got a truck in there on my lift. That's cool. All right, we're done. Till I get wood chips or Wednesday morning.